Hello, this is BJ from Hearns Hobbies, and I'm going to go through a little tutorial about some new wash materials that I've got. These are actually washes from Scale 75. So this is from their series called Soilworks, and they have quite a variety of colours. I've only got 3 here, which I thought would be easy to demonstrate. Now, the washes from Scale 75 are an oil-based wash. They're made from oil paint, like artist type oil, and it uses odorless thinners to mix them, which means they have a very low smell compared to some other oil washes, such as the panel lining wash from Tamiya, which is an enamel, and that's got quite a sharp, pungent smell. These ones still have a smell, but it's much more, I guess, bearable compared to others. Now, Scale 75 pretty much make water-based paints. So that makes sense in making oil washes, because usually when you're using paints, when you move to your wash stage, you want to use a different base compared to the original paint, and that makes it easier to manipulate. So I've got a bit of a demonstration that I can do here. So I have a bit of a fuselage here. What I've done is I've painted this section with a white primer. So this is a very fine white primer, and over here this is raw plastic, and I've already applied a little bit on both sides, so you can see what the difference is when you apply onto a matte surface and onto a gloss surface. So let me just prepare this here with another camera. So let's just switch over to this camera over here. Okay, so hopefully you can see a lot more detail here. So this side here is the section I've painted with a very fine white primer. This side is raw plastic. So as you can see, it's very shiny. And this is going to show you what's going to happen between putting a wash onto a shiny surface compared to on a matte surface. Because there is quite a bit of, I guess, theory that if you want a very sharp panel lines, you want to put that onto a gloss surface. And that is true, because a gloss surface will make the panel lines follow the edges much sharper. However, if you want it to be a little bit softer, you can put it onto a matte surface and it'll bleed a little bit. Okay, so you can see here I've actually used 2 colors. I had 3 colors I was going to try, but the gray actually is very difficult to see, so I've left that out. So over here we've got the black one, which is a darker one, and I've got the black over here as well, and then I've got the rust colored one, which is this one here and this one here. Okay, so the panels you can easily see, they're the ones that I've painted all the way on the inside of the panel as well, but just above there I've done a fine panel line which should be just on the edges, and I've got a feeling they're going to be a little bit difficult to see. Now I'm just going to get some fresh wash now. Okay, so I'm going to be using this one. This is the one they call dark stains, which is practically the same as a black panel wash. Okay, we'll give it a bit of a shake. Okay, because what's going to happen is it has a very fine pigment, because wash is basically an extremely thin paint. And then you need to shake it up, because the pigment here you need to mix it through, otherwise you won't get any tone in. Alright, so we'll crack it open. Okay, so it just looks like that. Alright, so I've just opened it up. I can't smell it at the moment. To get the odor from this, you have to be very close, or you need to be using it for quite a long time. So let me just put this over here. Let me see if I can share a bit of real estate there so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got myself quite a fine brush. The idea of the fine brush is for doing panel lines, so you can get right up into the panel. So I'm going to be going into these ribs here. Alright, so let's just dip my brush in here. Now obviously, how far a wash travels depends on how much wash is on the brush. Okay, so that's fully loaded at the moment. So I'll pop it in this little box here, and I'll show you what happens. And you might be able to see that just traveling along the lines here. Now it's basically traveling by itself, by capillary reaction around here. Let's do that. And what you will be able to see is wherever I've touched the edges with my brush, it's left these little marks, okay, which is natural. But I'll show you the beauty of the oil washes. with all that, we'll be able to clean that up at a later stage. So here I'll do it the same again on the gloss section. Okay, so that's traveling by itself. And this is what it's going to look like if we paint the whole panel. So I'm just painting it all in here. Okay, so you can see how it's incredibly thin. Okay, so there we go. So that's the black down. All right, so in this little container, I've put in a little bit of this odorless thinner. Okay, so the odorless thinner looks like this. Okay, so it's an Artis oil type odorless thinner. It's quite a large bottle. Go a long way. So I've only put in a little bit here, just using that to clean up the brush, because I'm just going to move on to a different color. And the next color is going to be the rust. Okay, so I just close that up. All right, so I just wipe it clean on this bit of a God hand paper here. All right, and we'll cap this off. All right, and let's get into this rust color. So this is a light rust. There is a deeper one as well. Again, same thing. Just mix it up. Crack it open, looks like that. And we'll do exactly the same thing. Okay, so that's been loaded up. And just across here, do the capillary reaction. Then over here, I'll paint the whole panel. Because washes are not always just used for panel lining, you can use them for filtering as well. So where am I here? Let's do this one. Oh, that was really well loaded, that one. Probably more than I wanted, but that's all right. And then this one will fill up the whole panel. All right, so I'm going to wash these off. So what you'll notice is the black ones that I've already put down here, this is already practically dry. Obviously the rust ones, you still see some reflections, so I'll still need a little bit of time to dry a bit. As you can see there, this one's still got a little bit of reflection as well. Now that's why I applied these ones earlier, because I'll show you how you manipulate them after they've dried off a bit. All right, so this is what I was doing. I was cleaning this off. Wipe it down. Now this is a new God hand sheet. I won't get into detail now, but I will get into another video about this. It's a super smooth surface that doesn't damage your brushes. So that one there. Okay, so that's all sealed up. Now what we're going to do now is, with these particular ones that I've painted earlier, I'll show you how you can clean them up and manipulate them by simply using the odorless thinner. Okay, so that's the odorless thinner again. I've poured a bit of that in my little container here, and I'm just going to use cotton wool bud, and we'll wet the cotton wool bud a little bit, and this is what's going to be taking off the excess wash. Okay, so it's just a little bit there, just wiping off a little bit of excess across the cap here, okay, because you don't need a lot on the tip here. Alright, so I'll do the black because that's going to be the most noticeable. So around here, so see how if I just wipe across here, it is removing that wash. Okay, like so. Now do the same with this side, which is the glossy side. like that. Just like that. And you might be able to see just a little bit of reflection there now, because it's a little bit wet, okay, with thinner. Now let's see, if I hold it at that angle, you may be able to notice that this particular side, which is the smoother side, is actually cleaned up better and showing the natural grey colour than on the matte side. Okay, so the matte side is always going to leave a stain. And actually I prefer it leaving the stain, because I think it allows this feathering that looks more natural. Okay, so that's the difference between a matte surface that you put a wash on and a gloss surface that you put a wash on. So that could be either a naturally glossy finish that you put the wash onto, or it could even be the difference of applying a gloss compared to applying a flat and then putting the wash on. So of course that's going to work for different situations. Some aircraft guys really like really clean panel lines and they put a gloss finish over the top first, and that's where you do this, because sometimes you put the gloss finish on and then the decals will adhere easier on the gloss as well. For myself, I prefer a flat surface, okay, and this is the sort of finish I like. Okay, so let's do the same thing on this rust section that I've done as well, and you'll see the same thing. So over here, just rub it down. See how that's all cleaned up? And then we'll do this. This may be a bit harder to see because the rust is quite a bit subtler here. Okay. So with this angle you'll probably be able to see it better. Now, around here, you still have a little bit of the wash around the edges, but you cleaned a lot of it on the inside. And it's been rubbed down, but it's still evident here, which will leave a bit of a shadow, which looks really nice, I think. Same here, much more noticeable with the black. Okay, so that's on the matte surface. And on the gloss surface, you'll see here, after we've cleaned it up, it's practically only left the panel along the edge of these ribs. And then over here, this is the rust. You practically can't see it at all. That's also because there's a lighter tone. Okay, so that is my very simple tutorial on doing washes. Okay, so again, these are the two that I've used. There are a multitude of different colors as well. So they extend all the way from the very dark, there's gray, there's different rusts, there's browns, and there's also a green. So with all those shades, I think these are probably the most popular that you could blend. You can mix between the two as well. And then quite easily with those, with the odorless thinners, you're able to achieve some very nice panel lines. And if I just quickly cut it back, again, just to summarize, so over here we've got the black and the rust on a matte surface. So after it's been cleaned up with the odorless thinner, you've got a little bit of residue, which gives a shadowing effect. Over here we've got the gloss surface, so that after you've cleaned it up, it actually has a very clean internal and it's a very sharp panel line. So that's it. This is the Soilworks washes. So the oil washes, very thin artist type oil paint. You use the low odor thinner to manipulate them. So they work perfectly with the acrylics, simply because acrylics have very low odor to start with. So if you're painting a lot indoors or in any closed space like an apartment, they're very easy to manage. And then also if you want the ability to manipulate easily, then these oil washes work very well. Now the water based paints, like the acrylics in Scale 75, I've already had a tutorial where I show you how to make them into washes. Now that's perfectly fine too, but unfortunately with acrylic washes, you don't have the ability to manipulate after it's dried, which is where these work absolutely perfectly. So thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the questions below.